That's because he did the best feline imitation of, could I have some more, please? That I have rehearsed.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Thompson Park Visitor Center for an evening of our one long hour program-ish one, followed by light refreshments and a chance to connect with one another. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel Cohen. I am a Monmouth County full-time employee, and by title, I'm a recreation supervisor. And if you ever want to visit me, I'm at Dorver Recreation Area on 537. My door is always open, and I'm usually there Monday through Friday. Pop on in, it'd be good to see you. I would first like to thank my co-conspirator, Robert Goodman, for curating this wonderful, lovely program that we're about to enjoy together. So, love. In today's world, we hear about unrequited love, toxic love, or things like the love languages. Love being the great miracle cure, love is the foundation for many spiritual belief systems. We love love, and it's all beautiful and messy and things like that, and the lessons we learn along the way. You'll learn tonight's selections are certainly most relatable, as we have experienced what the authors have experienced. There's going to be a myriad of emotions you're going to start to feel, and vivid imagery will come forward as you listen to each of our speakers express each author's point of view and the intentions for writing those pieces. So, without further ado, I present to you Robert Goodman, your host and one of tonight's performance speakers.
Thank you to us. We often refer to each other as beyond our great friendship, co-conspirator. This is the 9th year that I've been producing spoken word poetry productions here in Monmouth County, and there's been many of them right here, either at the barn and several that we've performed in this room so far. Pleased to, put another production together. Had a lot of fun putting this selection of pieces to read tonight. Just want to quickly just rattle off the names of our performance readers. If you've been with us or done with us before, you may have seen some of them. My great friend, Sandra Behn. My other great friend, Sami DeSocii, and my other great friend, Harth. They're all my third favorite readers. All time.
No sibling rivalry.
That feels like a shout.
Right?
All time. Anyway, no, I just, when I started this 9 years ago, I wasn't real sure how people were going to receive it, or whether it would get a following, or even if people would like to participate. And surprisingly, I've been surprised, and I'm just glad that you're all here tonight. Especially, we're kind of sandwiched between two snowstorms, and here we are. Oh, that's okay. That's kind of special. All right. So, look, the piece that we selected tonight. The first, we selected 14. Why 14? Well, sonetry is the form of love for poetry. It's made up of 14 lines, so we picked 14 selections. And the first 7 are from an extraordinary anthology by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And it's an anthology that was published while she and Robert Browning were living in Italy. It has some influences from the Petrarchan form, the poems, and the beautiful sonnets. But there's a little bit of deception involved here. The anthology is called Songs from the Portuguese. And they try to kind of present it to the public as if she didn't write these. These are just English translations of some beautiful poetry that a Portuguese poet had presented. And that wasn't the case. As a matter of fact, their initial marketing scheme was to title this Songs from the Bosnians, amazingly enough. And it's, if you look at the context of the time, it's really not that surprising, because they were just maybe a century out from the great republics that, had actually reigned that part of the Adriatic, and Dalmatian culture was still considered somewhat popular and exciting, and it kind of hinted on seafaring adventure. I'm glad they picked songs from the Portuguese. Anyway, but that will make it the first 7 of these, and it also, when some of our speakers will speak to this from the individual pieces that are going to be read. They're extraordinary poems by Elizabeth Barrett-Browning, and it's just stunning to me that she didn't have enough confidence, to kind of present it as her own work. And some of it was because, her husband was a well-known poet, and she was in the company of poets, but she just didn't see herself as one of them, and like I said, when you hear this tonight, you're going to be, I'm sure you'll be as moved as I was when I first read them. We're also going to be sharing some work by Percy Bysshe Shelley and William Shakespeare. We could have gone very heavy on the Shakespeare, but I think everybody goes heavy on the Shakespeare, so you probably heard enough. There's one of each. A great piece that will be read by Marshall, Ode to Science. Rather extraordinary piece, no pressure. I'll be reading several pieces, one from Christina Rossetti, talking a little bit about her life and her work. And then we'll have something from Marshall again, another sonnet. This one will be by Shakespeare. And we're going to wrap up with a modern piece by Edmund Vincent Millay. And what an extraordinary story around love around that. But anyway, look, I think you're going to enjoy this. Sure hope you do. You're smiling now. If you're smiling at the end, then I'll know we did what we came to do. And again, just so pleased that you're all here to join us. And to start us off will be my good friend.
Good evening. I'll be starting off with Sonnet 14, which is, if thou must love me, let it be for naught. Browning, she's a mature woman when she writes these poems. She's not a teen. Her thoughts are not based on puppy love or even really young love. She's lived life. She's also beyond that people-pleasing stage that some women pass through during their lifetime. And in this sonnet, she is telling her beloved how she wants to be loved. She's not going to waste precious time. She's not going to leave it all up to him to figure out. And she's telling him, let me tell you how to love me. And let's make it meaningful, and let's make it lasting. Sonnet 14. If thou must love me, let it be for naught, except for love's sake only. Do not say I love her for her smile, her look, her way of speaking gently. For a trick of thought that falls in well with mine, and certes brought a sense of pleasant ease on such a day. For these things in themselves, beloved, may be changed, or change for thee. And love so wrought may be unwrought so. Neither love me for thine own dear pities, wiping my cheeks dry. A creature might forget to weep, who bore thy comfort long, and lose thy love thereby. But love me for love's sake, that evermore thou mayest love on through love's eternity.
Thanks.
I'm gonna stand on my tiptoes that way y'all can see me. This is Sonnet 21. Say over again, yet once over again. And when I read it, I'm a Libra, I'm a hopeless romantic anyway. But I kind of interpreted this as she's in love with somebody and she's kind of half hoping that he loves her too, but in the back of her mind knows that he loves her. It's this weird little mental game that she's playing with herself. But she knows, like, in her heart that he does deeply love her, but she's still that 50% unsure. And she's not entirely sure why. Say over again, and yet once over again, that thou dost love me, though the word repeated should seem a cuckoo song, as though dost treat it. Remember, never to the hill or plain, valley and wood, without her cuckoo strain. Comes the fresh spring and all her green completed, beloved I amid the darkness greeted. By a doubtful spirit voice, in that doubt's pain, cries, speak once more, thou lovest. Who can fear too many stars, though each in heaven shall roll? Too many flowers, though each shall crown the year? Say thou dost love me, love me, love me, toll, silver iterates, only minding dear, to love me also in silence with thy soul.
In Sonnet 22, Browning speaks to the resilience of love, especially when faced with adversity. On one hand, love can be like a flickering candle, threatening to blow out. On the other hand, when love is like ours, it can withstand any obstacle. She references the divine in this sonnet and transcendence and how lovely that all can be. But really, is there any earthly thing that's going to do anything to us, right? We're not ready for heaven yet. We'll stay here for now, grounded and unbreakable. We've got this. So that's kind of the theme of it, we got this. When our two souls stand up erect and strong, face to face, silent, drawing nigh and nigher, until the lengthening wings break into fire at either curved point, what bitter wrong can the earth do to us, that we should not long be here contented? Think. In mounting higher, the angels would press on us and aspire to drop some golden orb of perfect song into our deep, dear silence. Let us stay rather on earth, beloved, where the unfit, contrarious moods of men recoil away and isolate pure spirits, and permit a place to stand and love in for a day, with darkness and the death hour around.
So this is Sonnet 28 by Letters Old Dead Paper. She's got writer's block. She does. She's got writer's block. She references staring at a white paper, which today it's staring at a blank screen. But she is, and this is a conversation that Robert and I had when I was reading it the first time with him. It's because she's gotten all these love letters and she doesn't know what the heck to say back. She's like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, I love you too, I think. But based on the poem, she apparently had like a real encounter with him. I guess today the equivalent would be like, you've got a friend online, or you've got this like love interest online, and you've never met in person except for one time. That's kind of the thing that I got out of this, because she does have a memory of him, you know, touching her hand, which, so yeah, this is Sonnet 28. My letters, all dead paper, mute and white, and yet they seem alive and quivering against my tremulous hands, which lose the string. Let them drop down on my knee tonight. This said, he wished to have me in his set. Once, as a friend, this fixed a day in spring, to come and touch my hand. Simple thing. Yes, I wept for it. This, the paper's light, said, dear, I love thee, and I sank and quailed, as if God's future thundered on my past. This said, I am thine, and so its ink has paled, while lying at my heart that beat too fast. And this, oh love, thy words have all availed. If what this said, I dare repeat at last.
Sonnet 29. In this sonnet, our speaker's beloved is absent, and she's considering how delightful the fantasy of him is. She's always thinking of him, having like, baby, you are always on my mind kind of thoughts and moments. It's not unusual for a sonnet to be about unrequited love or loving someone from afar, but in this sonnet, there's true love behind it. And the speaker states that, yeah, fantasies are nice, but they're a poor substitute for the reality of having you right here, right now, physically present with me. And she doesn't hold back on her tree metaphor in this sonnet. Browning puts it out there, the honesty, the freedom, the vulnerability of physical closeness. And I venture to guess that the oppressive Victorians of the time were no doubt a little scandalized by her passion in this sonnet, even if it is shrouded in twines and boats. Sonnet 29. I think of thee, my thoughts do twine and bud about thee as wild vines about a tree. Put out broad leaves, and soon there's naught to see except the straggling green which hides the wood. Yet, O my palm tree, be it understood, I will not have my thoughts instead of thee, who art dearer, better. Rather, instantly renew thy presence as a strong tree should. Rustle thy boughs and set thy trunk all bare. And let these bands of greenery which ensphere thee drop heavily down, burst, shatter everywhere. Because in this deep joy to see and hear thee, and breathe within thy shadow a new air, I do not think of thee. I am too near.
Okay, Sonnet 35. If I leave all for thee, wilt thou exchange? The way that I look at this is she's got a love interest, they're dating. She doesn't want this person to leave her, but yet she thinks that she's super hard to love, which is kind of what we all go through at some point or another. I feel like for this, she kind of already knows the answer, but at the same time, it's that you're not gonna leave me here, right? Kind of thing. Like, you're not gonna leave me, right? Like a little side eye, and he's like, no, it's fine. So, if I leave all for thee, wilt thou exchange and be all to me? Shall I never miss home talk and blessing and the common kiss that comes to each in turn, nor count it strange when I look up to drop on a new range of walls, of floors, another home than this? Nay, wilt thou fill that place by which is filled by dead eyes too tender to know change? That's hardest. If to conquer love has tried, to conquer grief tries more, as all things prove. For grief indeed is love, and grief beside. Alas, I have grieved, so I am hard to love. Yet love me, wilt thou? Open thine heart wide, and fold within the wet wings of the dove.
Sonnet 43. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways.
What was that? I don't think I've heard of it before.
And that's a nice segue, thank you, because my first thought was, does this sonnet even need an introduction? Even people who don't dig poetry know this one. It pretty much speaks for itself, but I will note two things. First, it's impossible to overlook the repetition of the words "I love thee," sharing with the reader that love is constant and perpetual. And secondly, the sonnet is written in the present tense. The speaker's feelings are now, they're current at this moment. They're not a memory of the beloved, they're not a hope for the future. They are now. However, the tense does shift towards the end of the poem, and it shifts towards the future sense, which kind of gives the reader the idea that true love is timeless, knows no bounds, even unto death. So, Sonnet 43. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being an ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely, as men strive for right. I love thee purely, as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs, and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, so I shall but love thee better unto death. It's for my
Follow that.
I feel sorry for the next guy.
I shouldn't have looked at George at this. I shouldn't have looked at him. What can I say?
Just want to let you know that love is love. So, I'm going to read Love's Philosophy. I like philosophy, so let's see how this goes. This is by Percy Bysshe Shelley, who lived from 1792 to 1822. He was 30 years old when he passed away. He was born in the UK, died in Italy, drowned.
He deserved it.
He was married to somebody you may have heard of, Mary Shelley, a Frankenstein author. And he was somewhat of a hypocrite because he was an atheist, but in this poem he speaks about divine law, so it's kind of confusing. And the poem is sort of saying that human lovers should naturally come together and unite physically. They did that with the tree like there was no tomorrow. Essentially, they should use the interconnectedness of nature as a metaphor for the idea that love and physical intimacy between people is a natural and divine law. That's the hypocrisy. And it should be followed. There's very vivid imagery of nature here, rivers flowing into the ocean, mountains kissing the sky. There is a concept of union. Love's philosophy. The fountains mingle with the river, and the rivers with the ocean. The winds of heaven mix forever with sweet emotion. Nothing in the world is single. All things by a law divine, in one another's being mingle. Why not I with thine? See the mountains kiss high heaven, and the waves clasp one another. No sister flower would be forgiven if it disdained its brother. and the sunlight clasps the earth, and the moonbeams kiss the sea. What is all this sweet work worth, if thou kiss not me?
I got lost at what note we were on. Sonnet 18, Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? And it's kind of like yours. I didn't know what it said. Because who doesn't know this one? Who doesn't know this one? So I don't actually have any notes for this one, only because I have done this one to death in school, and I'm an actor, so 1,000 times I've read this one. He's just calling her pretty. He's just calling her pretty, and this is the prettiest way that he knows how to do it. I always imagine him just sitting under a tree and her just laying there like maybe like one of your French girls. Yeah. And he's just telling her how pretty she is, which who doesn't like to be told that they're pretty? So, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. Summer's lease hath all too short a day. Thou art more Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often in his gold complexion dim. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. By thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. When in eternal lines to time thou growest, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to me.
So the next poem is by John Keats. Lived from 1795 to 1820. He was only 25 years old. He only wrote 54 poems. He wrote several odes. I'm working my way through the odes. In the fall, I did the Ode to Autumn. So this one's going to be the Ode to Psyche. And as a psychologist, no free therapy after this. Psyche in Greek means soul. So psychology originally was the study of the soul, and the soul is part of what undergirds our personality. And Psyche herself was mortal. She was a woman who became a goddess of the soul. And her beauty was reviled, in a sense, by Aphrodite. Aphrodite felt that people thought that she was more beautiful than her. And Aphrodite's son, Eros, fell in love with Psyche. And Aphrodite did not like this. So after many trials, Psyche becomes mortal. And it's through the activity of Zeus, he gets Zephyr to blow in there and bring her up to Mount Olympus, and then she's made mortal. And when I was in high school, I was first introduced to mythology. We read, what's it? I blew it this afternoon, and now it's out of my head. The book on mythology.
Bullfinch.
No, not Bullfinch. That's what happens when you get advanced.
Jim's Almanac of Mythology. I just made that up.
Nice.
Anyway, so what's interesting in the poem is in the beginning, he is speaking to Psyche, but then it shifts and he's speaking to somebody else, and it's probably the person that he loves. And Eros tells Psyche, without trust there can be no love. And this poem is the triumph of love over death. Eros and Psyche have a daughter. Her name is Hedon, in which hedonism comes from. So it's all kind of connected. So this is the Ode to Psyche. Oh, goddess, hear these tuneless numbers, rung by sweet enforcement and remembrance dear, and pardon that thy secrets should be sung even into thine own soft-conched ear. Surely I dreamt today, or did I see the winged Psyche with awakened eyes? I wandered in a forest thoughtlessly, and on the sudden, fainting with surprise, saw two fair creatures, couched side by side, in deepest grass, beneath the whispering roof of leaves and trembled blossoms, where there ran a brooklet scarce espied, mid hushed, cool-rooted flowers, fragrant eyed, blue, silver white, and budded tyrian. They lay calm breathing on the bed grass, their arms embraced, and their pinions too. Their lips touched not, but had not bid adieu, as if disjoined by soft-handed slumber, and ready still past kisses to outnumber. At tender-eyed dawn of Aurorian love, the winged boy I knew. But who was thou? Oh, happy, happy dove. His Psyche true. Oh, latest born and loveliest vision, far of all Olympus's faded hierarchy, fairer than Phoebe's sapphire rigid star, or Vespa, amorous glowworm of the sky, fairer than these, though temple thou hast none, nor altar heaped with flowers, nor virgin choir to make delicious moan upon the midnight hours. No voice, no lute, no pipe, no incense sweet from chain-swung censer tea. No shrine, no grove, no oracle, no heat of pale-mouthed prophet dreaming. Oh, brightest, though too late for anti-vows, too late for the fond believing lyre, when holy were the haunted forest boughs, holy the air, the water, and the fire. Yet even in these days so far retired from happy pieties, thy lucid fans fluttering among the faint Olympians, I see and sing by thy own eyes inspired. So let me be thy choir, and make a moan upon the midnight hours. Thy voice, thy lute, thy pipe, thy incense sweet, from swinged censer teeming. Thy shrine, thy grove, thy oracle, thy heat of pale-mouthed prophet dreaming. Yes, I will be thy priest, and build a fane in some untrodden region of my mind, where branched thoughts, new grown with pleasant pain, instead of pines, shall murmur in the wind. Far, far around shall those dark clustered trees fledge the wild-ridged mountains, steep by steep, and there, by zephyrs, streams, and birds, and bees, the moss-laden dryads shall be lulled to sleep. And in the midst of this wide quietness, a rosy sanctuary will I dress, with the wreathed trellis of a working brain, with buds and bells and stars without a name, with all the garden of fancy air could feign, who breeding flowers will never breed the same. And there shall be for thee all soft delight that shadowy thought can win, a bright torch and a casement open at night, let the warm love in.
Well, Sammy, now I know what it's like to follow a great reading.
See, that's what I'm saying, right? Good luck to you.
Really well done. And it just kind of occurred to me, it was not Jim's Almanac of Mythology.
Mary Hamilton. Somebody Hamilton. Edith Hamilton.
I was like, Margaret
Edith
Hamilton's when I went to the woods.
Margaret.
I don't think doing much right.
The only other candidate I could think of was Ovid's Metamorphoses, which is another great compendium. And when my writer's block takes hold, it's sitting right there next to my chair, and I'll open it up and I'll try to get some inspiration and write some really awful first drafts. So, the next piece is by the Romantic era poet Christina Rossetti. And whether you first became familiar with her work through a greeting card, a lot of her work has shown up in greeting cards over the years, or you heard it recited somewhere, or you studied it in school, she's certainly one of the most preeminent English language poets of the Romantic period, and clearly one of my favorites. And this piece, along with what eventually became a hymn, in the Winter, are two of my favorite pieces of work by her. I don't know if you know much about her background. She was, her father was actually an exile in Italy. He was a poet and apparently a troublemaker, and had to leave Italy, married his wife, Frances Polidori, who was half English and half Italian, and they decided to raise their family in England. He could not go back to Italy. And the family was very much steeped in the arts and the local literary scene. She was the youngest of four. Her brother, Dante Gabriel Rossetti, was one of the members of the pre-Raphaelite art movement. And through him, she certainly met so many people of the arts community, including one Jane Tomlinson. Her poem I'm about to read is called Remember. And it was written about the time she was 19, and by the time she was 19, she had been engaged to Mr. James Tomlinson. But the engagement broke off. Now, and to give you further context around this, is that James Tomlinson was a Catholic, and her family was a member of the Anglican Church. Now, the good news is, since Charles II, he didn't have the riotous murders of Catholics against Protestants anymore, but they were still very much in a very class-conscious society. This was a strong distinction. And he went so far as actually going through the conversion process to go from Catholic to being an Anglican, and then found that he was kind of a fish out of water. And he broke off the engagement. He could not be married. And it broke her heart. And she could only prepare for one thing: death. And if we've ever loved, love is not love until it's tested, then we know what that feeling of death is like, of someone who's no longer in their lives. And from that, she wrote this. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land. When you can no more hold me by the hand, for I have turned to go, yet turning stay. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of our future that we planned. Only remember me. You understand. It'll be too late to counsel or to pray. Yet, if you should forget me for a while, and afterward remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of the thoughts that I once had, better by far that you should forget and smile than that you should remember and be sad. Christina Rossetti, Remember.
Here's one by Willie the Shake.
Yes. I'm never referring to anything else again.
1564 to 1616. He outlived the other ones. He was 52. My daughter's 52. And he lived and he died in Stratford-upon-Avon. So this is, we have another sonnet, number 29. This is When it disgraces with fortune in men's eyes. And it displays the power of the genuine emotion of compassion, as it is only love and the speaker's beloved's compassion for him that helps him through his despair. Love offers compensation for the injuries and the setbacks one endures in life. Sonnet 29, When in disgrace with fortune in men's eyes. When, in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I, all alone, beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy contented least. Yet, in these thoughts, myself almost despising, happy, I think on thee, and then my state, like to the lark, at break of day arising from sullen earth, sings hymns at heaven's gate, for thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings.
Well done. To the end of the program, and I will be reading, and this is the Blaze Love Sonnet, XXX 30. You be pedantic for a moment, but before we do, I just want to let you know that Rachel was very kind to be very hospitable and create a number of refreshments for us in the other room. After the program, you are welcome to mingle with the speakers. We'd love to talk about what we do here. I'll get into it a little bit later, but I'm my 9th year of doing this. I'm no longer surprised what someone can do with the written word and convey vocally, that it means something a little bit more than what it is when it's written. One of our, when I talk with the speakers, or at least who are new to working with us, this community of performance readers, if you will, is that we try to kind of follow the 3 E's. We want to entertain, educate, we want to evoke something in the listener. And I hope that maybe something tonight you heard is something that you felt. Now, Love Sonnet 30. Edna St. Vincent Millay. She is considered a modern postmodern poet. She was considered a pivotal figure in being able to take, she was mostly known in her early career, where she got a lot of success by using the form of the sonnet and wrote some brilliant poetry. But she changed as much as the times changed. And if we thought that the English expat poetry community in Italy in the 19th century was, a bunch of heathens, she was outright scandalous by comparison. I don't want to make too much of it because, as your scholar said, love is love. And that's just the way it is. You love who you love. And she was known for, publicly not really quite caring what the public thought about having relationships with people that she just loved. She dived in deep wherever she was. She was married to a Dutch businessman by the name of Eugen Jan Boysen. And he was, somewhat open to this. It's not necessarily known whether he was as open in relationships as she was, but he didn't seem to necessarily mind it. But eventually the relationship did break down. And she found herself lonely, and she had a couple of really hard, broken relationships where she was really regretted it. And then I think at the very depth of it, she actually put out an anthology called Wine for These Grapes, and in it was a very, very dark sonnet sequence of 18 sonnets, which contemplated what the world would be like without humans in it. It was a barren wasteland for her. So you find in her love sonnetry, when she was younger, it's much more inspiring, it's hopeful. Later on, in the later pieces, including this, you find a bit of cynicism, a little bit of the depth of hurt, of love broken. But listen closely to this piece. It certainly bears a lot of that cynicism, but maybe you'll just hear that one moment of hope that she still believed it. Love is not all. It is not meat, nor drink, nor slumber, nor a roof against the rain, nor yet a floating spar to men that sink, and rise and sink, and rise and sink again. Love cannot fill the thickened lung with breath, or clean the blood, or set the fractured bone. Yet many a man is making friends with death, even as I speak, for lack of love alone. It well may be that in a difficult hour, pinned down by pain and moaning for release, or nagged by want past resolution's power, I might be driven to sell your love for peace, or trade the memory of this night for food. It well may be. I do not think I would. And it seems this way. All great, powerful pieces. Really delighted that, again, with all the uncertain weather, that we even have an audience tonight. And just in case they can all join us. And, you know, we love producing these events, and they kind of bring out something special in us for being able to present it to all of you. So really a deep, gracious thanks for all of you here this evening. I would like to say a special thanks, if I could call you up one by one and then critique you meanly and tell you what a terrible job you did. I'm kidding, no, it's backed up.
No blank paper for that.
No, right? Jesus.
He would be lying if he did that.
I know, right? It's okay, I haven't lied to you before, so.
But anyway, I'd like to start off and just recognize my person I've known for more than 4 decades, and a great friend, and has been a great supporter of these efforts, my friend Sandra Behn. If you would just come up and join me.
You have to say 4 decades. 3 to 3.
3 decades, 4 decades, who's counting? But it does. If anything, it belies that you know, somebody you've known for a long time. There's something special with somebody that you've known for a long time and who knew you when. You know, and her wonderful husband George, who was also, we were all classmates at Middleton High School North. Back in the day. Yeah, and such a big class, but I got to meet so many great people, including Sandy and George. And you know, we certainly had all the distractions of raising families and following careers and traveling. And I'm just really pleased to reconnect, especially this. My friend Sandy here is a teacher, and we both share a great love of literature. And one of the things I really admired was when she helped me in her latest book review, which she posted online. And the breadth and depth of what she reads is really kind of remarkable. Anyway, but she has been in, I guess, maybe 7 of these so far.
Lost count.
Yeah. And as you know, if you've been here, you're such a great reader. I'd like to also bring up my friend Sami DeSocii, who was with us, I guess it was maybe almost 3 years ago.
Something like that,
Yeah. Yeah, we were over here in Thompson Barn Park, and we had done 14 sonnets by William Shakespeare, where actually she had an opportunity to work with, it's kind of too hard to describe in words.
It really is.
We did a little bit of a skit around a sonnet that is actually the interaction between Romeo and Juliet, and Juliet, and Romeo. And we had cue cards.
Yeah, that was great.
And then, after they performed it, we invited members of the audience to come up and reverse the roles while they held the cue cards. It was wonderful. And they were magnificent. And they both have a great sense of comic timing. And by the way, one of the most funny preparation of read-throughs of doing this with Sam the other night was she was telling me, kind of joking, everyone's heard this sonnet. She goes, I know. She goes, I used to run around the house with my brother just kind of screaming it at each other. And if you've ever been close to this antic energy, you can kind of see it. So all good stuff. And then I'd like to bring up my friend Marshall Harth. Who, you and I probably did that less than 5 years ago, more incidental, but probably one of the most deliberating at practicing the craft of poetry, and really admire the breadth of topics that he chooses. And he just shared with us a recent compendium of what he had just written this year. It was remarkable. And if you enjoy poetry, I'm going to start with the shameless plug. Last year I created a new venue for poets, specifically original poets and original poetry. It's called the Mad Art Supper Club. We meet the last Sunday of each month at Rockefeller's in Long Branch. For $10.
The pizza version. There's two Rockefellers.
There's Rockefeller Station and there's Rockefeller's. Don't confuse it. Anyway, for $10 you get a family-style Italian meal, and you get to meet a bunch of other poets and people who like to either read it or listen to it. We've been our last gathering in October. We had about 30 people there. It was pretty exciting. Rachel's been to it. I'm just trying to think of who else. Janet's been to it. Yeah, it's pretty good. A pretty good deal. But for $10, you get a great Italian meal, and you get to hear a great Italian. No, I was going to say Italian poetry. That's not true. But anyway, you get to hear some really great original poetry. And
When is that?
last Sunday of the month, and this month it'll be February 23rd at 3 o'clock. We usually wrap up after about 2.5 hours. Dinner's about a half hour. Everyone talks. Sometimes it's tough to get the crowd in line, but we've only had to call out the riot police once. So just once. But anyway, really good time. But Marshall will be speaking at that, one of his original pieces, one that I really enjoyed from last year, entitled
The Rhyme of Time.
And it's an extraordinary piece, just simply because it's so wrapped up in his own personality and his sense of humor and his exploration of the rhyme of time. So you'll be really missing something if you don't make it. If you want to learn more, just
Make the time to come.
But anyway, in general, the great thing of being able to do this and putting these programs together is I always see where the performance readers start and end up, and everyone reads, right? It's just magnificent. So I've just asked if we could take a bow.
And just so you know, as a director, he finesses his comments, and you don't realize that it's a critique. It's not a critical. It's given with love, and it really helps you to figure out what it is that you're trying to do, and you get to do a much better job. How he does this.
I've been in a couple of these. He's an amazing director.
You're very kind, and I appreciate the kind word. All I'm doing is making it think it's your idea.
Well, see, that shows the genius of it.
That makes so much sense now.
Anyway, thank you again for joining us. Please join us in the other room. Oh, wait. The water bottles are in the shape. They're placed in the shape of a heart. The first one who picks one is breaking a heart.
Oh.
Okay, so 2 people at once, all right? Thank you again.
I thought the two of you beat. I have a friend, a woman I've been friends with. She thinks we met when we were 4.
Really?
We're still friends.
Oh, wow.
She still lives in Maryland, where I grew up.
Let's turn this off.
Right. Oh, okay.
I hope we didn't make. Oh.